Hello and welcome to Hope After. This is a space for couples navigating the impact of pornography on their marriage. It's a place where we slow things down, tell the truth, and begin to rebuild what has been shaken. And today we're talking about something that can feel a little uncomfortable at first, because when everything has just come out into the open and it's all a little bit chaotic, the instinct is often just to fix it, to talk more, try harder, pray harder, maybe be even closer. But what couples begin to realise soon is that without any structure, everything can start to feel unclear very quickly. Now, you might recognise this feeling. Have you felt like you're having the same conversation again and again, but nothing's really moving forward? Do you know that sense of wanting things to get better, but not quite knowing how? And maybe one day feels hopeful and the next day feels like you've gone back 15 paces. That back and forth is exhausting. Often it's not because you're doing anything wrong. It's because you're trying to rebuild something complex without a clear pathway. Jez, when we were in that early stage, what did it feel like trying to work things out without any real structure?
Well, first of all, I thought it was going to be possible because you were, like I said before, I think you was always the kind of fixer. You were the go-to. You would sort things out. You would get things in place. And I thought that was going to be the answer. You get the help that I need.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be okay. And you're going to be okay.
Yeah.
But it kind of that's not reality.
No. So I guess what happened was I discovered the pornography. I found it really, really upsetting. Didn't want this in our marriage. Jez disclosed he had an addiction. I Googled how to fix him. He said, sorry. I said, try this. And we thought happily ever after. Yeah, that's kind of what we did. But then something else would come up, or that wouldn't work, or it was taking too long, or we weren't seeing results. Or I would get really, really upset, and we just didn't know how to navigate all of those things.
Yeah, and I think as well, it's like, we've heard it many a time, is that, about asking the questions and you go, oh, we're not going over the same thing again. How many times did that happen? It probably didn't happen that many, but for me, it felt quite a regular occurrence.
Yeah, because I was just like so upset. I mean, I'd been punched in the gut. The rug had been pulled out from under me. So, I mean, I was questioning the marriage, my worth, who this man was, who I was married to. And I didn't know how to deal with all those really big questions. So I was walking around not knowing whether I should talk about how I was feeling. In fact, I don't think I really talked about how I was feeling. I thought if I just hold it together, everything could be okay. Didn't really share with you how I was feeling often. When I did, I just felt like I was going over the same thing.
That's because we were. And most of the time I'm walking around on eggshells thinking, is she going to ask me something about it? And like I said before, one day I'd see you as like, oh, she's looking quite happy about things, not knowing then how you were inside.
Yeah, because we hadn't done any of that type of work at all. And I think that's the problem is I just kind of Googled something, found some YouTube advice, and we followed that program, and I thought that would fix everything. And that was the no-fap program, which we'll talk about in another episode. But really, we didn't really put much else in place. We didn't, because the weeks and the months went on, and then you sort of feel like you're getting a bit of your marriage back, or that it's okay. I know he's not looking at the porn, so everything should be feeling okay by now, surely. So the weeks and the months have gone on, and then something happens. I see something on the telly which triggers me, or I see someone in the street that triggers me, and I'm back to miserable again. And Jez is, what's wrong with you, darling? And I'm like, it's that thing you did, darling. And it's like, oh, that again. So yeah, it was just really hard.
It was really difficult. Hopefully I can say this as well as kind of life gets in the way of things. We become busy. We had 2 young children. One of them became quite poorly, so all the attention was focused onto that, which it wasn't a great time. but also it was a good time because we didn't have the conversations. Our marriage was kind of falling apart, but we were there for each other and we needed to be.
Yeah, but that was all. We were literally hanging on by a thread. We just didn't know what we were meant to be doing and when, and what could wait and what needed attention straight away. And I think for you, I guess you thought by saying sorry and by thinking that you had enough willpower to stop, that was probably enough. And I think I thought that.
Well, absolutely. I thought it was enough. As long as I could see you smiling, which those times I didn't really see a lot of that. But sometimes there would be a little glint in your eye. I personally felt she's doing good. She's okay. She's not going to ask me the questions again.
Yeah.
So I was always trying to hold on to those moments, thinking, it's only going to be a matter of time, and then it's going to be forgotten about. It's gone. It's over. How foolish was I to think that?
Yeah, and it's a common place that lots of couples find themselves in because no one really teaches you how to rebuild a marriage after something like this. In fact, we don't really we call it rebuilding, but we don't really rebuild the marriage. But you're literally demolishing it and starting again.
Yeah, didn't we say about redesigning it, not rebuilding it?
Yeah, it is more like that because rebuilding it implies that you're just sort of fixing it and not really dealing with the foundations. So couples end up generally circling around the same conversations, misunderstanding each other and possibly leading to tension, or trying to move forward at completely different speeds and trying stuff and not knowing whether it's the right time to be trying it or is it actually going to work. So without structure, it can start to feel like you're drifting. Now, a structured recovery pathway, whether it's ours or somebody else's, it answers the question, where are we and what actually comes next? And that's what you need, because in those moments of chaos, you don't know, you're spiraling most of the time. You don't know what you're supposed to say, you don't know what you're supposed to do, don't know what's going to make things worse and what's going to help save the marriage. So instead of guessing or reacting, you start to understand what stage you're in, what needs attention now and what can wait. And often we get couples who they say, well, I know he's got the addiction. We've dealt with that. We don't need stages 1, 2, and 3 of your program. We just need the M bit, the marriage bit, the how to rebuild trust and, get together again bit. And actually, they haven't done stages 1, 2, and 3. They need to do. Those were the crucial bits that were missing from the recovery. It has to be a very structured pathway to help you navigate this really complex time in your marriage. Now, when we realised that these stages were going to work for us, how did that help you, Jez?
Well, firstly, when you say about structure, I didn't kind of really get that. I didn't know much about structure. Again, I sort of like kind of just, it's what you wanted. You needed to work on this. My word, when we started working through it, to begin with, I thought it was going to be impossible. As we worked gently through it, and we didn't rush it, but just how important each and every stage of this program was. You can't just miss a bit because then something there kind of didn't feel right. You kind of go back to something and go, but this isn't right. And then we would like go, well, that bit's missing.
Yeah.
So I think with Joanne and what we've done with this stage works so well.
Yeah. So the first stage, as you know, is after discovery. It's to slow everything down in a good way because everything feels urgent, a bit chaotic, a bit surreal. And rushing can lead to just repairing things on the surface, which is kind of what we did. There is unspoken resentment because there isn't that opportunity to share. And you carry that resentment, even if you're forgiving regularly, or false reassurance. Like Jez, he really meant that he was going to stop. And the willpower, he really thought he had enough. So the reassurance is false because it's not intentionally false, but it is. But structure helps you to slow down without losing direction. And with our program, it holds both people in the process. I think whatever program you choose, whether it's ours or somebody else's, it's really important to do identity work for yourself. really important for the woman to know that she is not hopeless. She is not unattractive, that you were not, that porn was not chosen instead of you. There is a lot of, it impacts your self-esteem greatly. So there's a lot of work that the woman needs to do, her own inner healing. The man, he needs to do a shed load of inner healing work, the deeper work, the, naming what was the emotional pain and what porn was actually covering up, what it was a coping mechanism for something. And that is a lot of work for the man to do. But the important thing is, even though you're both hurting in very different ways, is you have to come back together again. And a lot of programs don't have that. So it's really important that whatever program you choose, that it does have the bit where the husband and the wife come back together and they start to rebuild trust. So a structured approach, it gives the woman space for her pain. There's responsibility for the man, and it means no one's being overlooked. Now, one of the stages we have is naming the wound, and it's a real crucial stage. And I think we've skipped it completely. We were just like, we didn't even think about the impact it was having on me, or really addressing the fact that pornography had entered our marriage. I think it was just a case of you almost like not even defending yourself, but trying to fix it quickly and just thinking, oh, it's impacted Jo. Yes, she's really sad. This must be in our marriage. But there was a whole lot of deeper work that needed to be done with that. Also about building safety again, not just change. Stopping a behavior is not the same as rebuilding safety. Structure here, it ensures that honesty is consistent, accountability is clear, and trust is rebuilt slowly and not assumed. Now, what we've seen both personally and with other couples is this: couples without structure often revisit the same issues repeatedly. We did, didn't we? So issues that we visited repeatedly were my self-esteem was took a big knock.
Well, I just going back to what you said earlier about, that the woman's not enough, she's not good enough. And I remember saying to you many times, it's nothing that you've done. But you couldn't get a grip of that, could you?
No.
You couldn't understand it completely. Yeah, it's just going back to the same old wounds again, like you were saying, how hurt you were, repeatedly telling me how much it's hurting. And I really knew that, I understood that. But I just felt, what else can I do?
Yeah.
I felt that there was nothing else I could do until we found out about trying to find the root cause. Wow, that opened up a whole new world, didn't it?
Yeah. And then the emotional reconnection, the emotional intimacy that we were able to put into practice to help reconnect our marriage in a very different way.
Because I'm sort of like trying to, do timelines, and I'm sure that when I found out or started to find out what the root cause was probably 5 years.
Much later, yeah.
5-6 years after the initial discovery.
Yeah, it's a long time of messy healing.
Yeah, of a marriage going kind of nowhere, just being.
Yeah, just avoiding and
I just
hoping.
remember that there's this old saying, wasn't it? Let's brush it under the carpet.
We did.
And just leave it there.
Yeah.
And time would heal it.
Yeah, and unfortunately we brushed so much under the carpet that every time I walked over the rug I kept tripping up.
Well, likewise.
Yeah, definitely. So emotional safety takes so much longer to rebuild without clear steps, as you've just heard. And progress, it becomes difficult to measure, which often leads to discouragement. One partner often ends up carrying more of the emotional weight. Now, you're in a marriage, and over time, those things quietly erode hope. So this isn't about making things rigid or clinical or turning your relationship into a checklist. It's about giving your healing a proper framework that's strong enough to hold it. If you're listening together, you might pause and gently explore, both of you. Do we feel like we're moving forward or just circling? Are we clear on what we're working on right now? Do we feel like we're carrying this together or separately? For the man, do you know what rebuilding trust looks like in practice? And for the woman, Do you feel safe enough in your marriage to be honest about how this is affecting you?
I just want to talk a little bit about responsibility with structure. For me, as I said earlier, structure didn't really mean a huge amount to me. I'm still thinking in my head, how is this going to work? I was praying that it would work. And believe me, it did work. So it's really accepting that you're going to go through with this structure, follow it through, try to understand it. And really, for me, because being a man, we always want to try and fix things quickly. But understanding that you do need to take it slowly takes a huge amount to have these conversations with your wife where you can sit down, be open and honest about it. But what we found, it really worked. It opened up a whole new world, just gave us, hope, hence the name. And that hope did work for me, and for Joanne as well.
Yeah, massively.
To talk about it and continually to talk about it and to understand each other's pain as we went through. And I do remember a little while ago when we were talking about, how to respond in some ways. And I remember, saying about Joanne's hurt and how she hurt. And I said this foolish thing that, yeah, I'm hurting too. And then soon after that, learning a little bit more about that Joanne's hurt is much more important than my hurt. I can get over the hurt much easier than she could.
Yeah, and it was communicating. It was that lack of communication. We hadn't learned about emotional intimacy. We hadn't learned how to communicate or how to put in place how to make the woman feel safe again.
Yeah.
We didn't know any of those things. So what we've done is we've taken all the things that we've learned, we've put them into a stage program, and we've taken out all the stuff you don't need to worry about, all the stuff that is just a fad or a quick fix. We've removed anything like that, and we've put together the most beautiful structured pathway to help you redesign your marriage on a firmer foundation. In fact, we've now got a better marriage than what we had before.
Yeah, I was just about to say, sort of working through that program a while ago. Now, I can't remember the time when we first decided to do it ourselves. I could actually see a different wife. It was beautiful. She got this glint back in her eye. She got a beautiful smile back. And that for me was just wonderful. And just to sort of let her know that I'm in a good place, I'm doing really well. And these conversations, we just opened up to one another. And I just remember sitting on the sofa one day and just drawing really close to one another and holding. And it just felt so different to what it had ever been before.
Yeah. So, our marriage is better now than what it was before. And I never thought that we would ever, I never thought I'd ever be able to say that again. In fact, I wouldn't want to go back to the marriage. I would never want to go back to the marriage we had before. It's much better now, and I praise God. So the hopeful shift. This is where things begin to change, because when you have structure, instead of reacting or guessing or holding everything together emotionally, you begin to move forward with intention, with steadiness, and something to build on. And I hope that that's what we've created for you. And if you're in that place right now, feeling unsure how to move forward, the pathway is exactly there for this reason. It gently walks you through stabilizing after discovery, understanding what's really going on with both the wife and with the husband. And then it's about rebuilding trust together, restoring that marriage, not restoring that marriage, redesigning that marriage step by step. And you can explore that at hope-after.com. You were never meant to navigate this by instinct alone. Your marriage doesn't deserve a quick fix. It deserves so much more than that. Needing structure doesn't mean you're failing. It means you're choosing to redesign it or rebuild it well. Thank you for being here with us. If this episode has helped bring clarity, you're welcome to share it with someone who might need it too. And if you'd like it to reach more couples who are in the same situation and quietly and desperately not knowing what to do next, then please rate or review the show. It's actually also the only way we know that it's serving you. And wherever you find yourselves today, there's still a way forward.